All right, let's talk about passing prop firm evaluations. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the different types of evaluations there are, the rules involved, some tips and tricks, and then I'm going to physically be trading 20 of the evaluations and show you what it looks like to actually trade and pass the evaluations here in this video. So first things first, what is prop firm? Online prop firms these days are basically, there's a lot of them. They all have different pros. They all have different cons. The thing that I like about Apex is the 20 account copying. I can have 20 accounts at once. And that just basically allows for me to trade one account at a time, trade it in the risk parameters, and it multiplies it out. And I really enjoy that. I've made $309,000. I've pulled out $309,000 in 80 trading days this year so far. I've done that using these accounts and kind of the principles that I'll be talking about in here. I trade the 50K accounts on Apex. I trade 20 of the 50Ks. They have several different options. We go to their website. You can go to atf.com or go to tbm.gg/apex. They go from 25K all the way up to 300K. The big things to note here is that the number of contracts that you can trade change. And then the big thing is the profit goal and the trailing threshold. So for me, I picked the 50K instead of the 300K, for instance, because if you do the 300K, the profit goal is $20,000. You divide that by the trailing threshold of 7,500. That gives us a ratio, a profit to threshold or to trailing ratio of 2.66. The 50K is a $3,000 profit with a $2,500 threshold. So if you do 3,000 divided by 2,500, that's 1.2. So 1.2 instead of a 2.6 ratio. For me, I'm not saying that's easier. Nothing in trading is ever easier or truly easy, but I do like having more of a one-to-one, like the profit goal being very similar to the trailing threshold to be able to have that wiggle room. Obviously, if you go to the 25K, you can see it's a true one-to-one, $1,500 of profit versus $1,500 of trailing threshold. But I like a little bit more wiggle room than the $1,500. So I go with the 50K. It suits what I need, and it's very doable for me. So now let's talk about actually passing these things. There's several different ideas here on actually how to pass them. You know, this really comes down to if you've been funded before or if you've never been funded before. And not just funded, but taken payouts. If you've been funded with the prop firm that you're trying to pass and you've taken payouts before, so this is not your first time to do this, I don't think there's anything wrong with sizing up, trading a little bit more size. Maybe it's 3 contracts or 5 contracts on this 50K account when the max is 10. I don't think there's anything wrong with that in order to kind of expedite the process of getting funded if you know what setups you're looking for and you know those A+ setups that you're looking for. That being said, if you've never been funded, you've never taken payouts, I think you should be sizing way down, not trying to pass these in one day, and instead be really looking for those quality setups and trading it exactly the same way that you would anticipate that you would trade the actual funded account or the PA account. For me, I've been funded. I've withdrawn $309,000. I know what I'm doing with these accounts. I am personally comfortable with taking a little bit more size and taking more trades in a single day than I would normally be taking. You've seen on my live streams, if you don't know, I live stream my trades every morning on YouTube at market open, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. I always am trading 1 contract per account, and I'm typically looking for 10 points. And I do, 2 or 3 trades like that in the morning. If I get to $400, I typically am calling it because that's kind of my target during my funded accounts is $400 per account per day. Now on the evaluations, I need to hit a goal of $3,000. If it takes longer than 1 day, that's fine. But my goal is still to hit that $3,000. And I'm fine sizing up a little bit and taking some more trades where I'm past that $400 level in order to make it happen a little faster. So for actual tips and tricks, the number one thing I can recommend on any evaluation, but especially the Apex evaluations, is to take profit. Okay. So Apex has a trailing drawdown. What a trailing drawdown means is that it takes your equity high, whether it's unrealized, meaning you're still in a trade. If your trade runs up $1,000 and your trailing drawdown was negative $1,000, if your trade runs up $1,000, that trailing drawdown goes to 0, even if you haven't yet closed that trade. So for me, I'm taking 10-point trades, base hits, right? You're not going to be seeing me try and take a 30-point trade. And if I was, for some weird instance, I would be trying to pull it like 5 points the whole way up so that I'm not giving back a whole lot of unrealized gains, which then hurts your trailing drawdown. That is a very important piece of information that I think everybody needs to know, which is take profit. Okay. And it goes hand in hand with the base hit mentality. I said it earlier, on my funded accounts, I look for 10-point trades. I look for a couple of those a day and then I'm done. I'm peacing out. Same concept goes into this. I'm obviously going to be looking for more of them because I'm trying to pass these in a day. But I will still be looking for those base hits, and the base hits really helps with trailing drawdown, really helps with stacking those profits. So I will be copy trading 20 fresh evaluations. I got 20 fresh 50k evaluations here ready to go, and I'll be copy trading these. I'm planning on seeing what volatility is looking like today and trading anywhere from 3 to 5 contracts in order to get to that $3,000 goal by the end of the day. Okay, so I always wait the first 15 minutes and usually a little ends up being a little longer, just to let kind of volatility figure out what it wants to do, figure out if we can find directions, etc. Right now, market's been over for 23 minutes. Have not yet taken a trade. Really nice push off of VWAP, like 70 points or something. Right into the magical 20s of 520. Market likes to rotate 20s and 80s for some reason. So we're gonna see what that looks like right up here. It's a nice push without hardly any pullback yet. I'm not trying to fade this move yet either. I'll be watching Delta, which is the change in market buyers versus market sellers, to see kind of the reaction that we're having up at the 20s. But I think rotating 20, which is exactly where we're rotating right now, 520 on the dot, does make sense a little bit. But not worth it for me to just step in front of a moving train. A little doji up here at the highs. I'm going to take this stab short. Stop will be at new highs, basically. So the idea here is that we're rotating 520s. Little topper candle at the top, looking for, you know, my 10 points to the downside. It really should be like this. My 10 points to the downside, and making sure that, you know, I don't let it just run a ton in the money without taking profit is always key. Talk more about the execution also after the trade is done. I can focus up a little bit. Okay, nice. And I'm out on all of those trades. That is $1,000 per account right there. 10 points on the Nasdaq futures. You can see here after commissions and some slippage with the trade copier that I use, up around 965 per account. So that's a great spot to start out. Very happy to, I love starting accounts off green, like first trade. It's always nice when the equity curve, you know, you start when the equity curve is going up. So you're not having to play catch up right off the bat. Building a little bit of buffer is always a good thing. But that being said, there are times where, you know, you won't have that very first trade be green. Don't be discouraged if you do start off red. Let's talk about that trade very quickly. I love cheap trades, right? Cheap trades meaning the point of invalidation is very close to my entry. So in this case, I was able to be patient, wait for the 520s to work. We ended up rejecting 520, putting in a nice little doji. And so for me, that is a sign that I can get short and have a 5-point stop. And if we sweep this high, we're going to push, which is exactly what's happening right now, right? If I was still in this trade, say I got stopped out at 520, we're already 7 points higher. It doesn't seem like a big move, but when you're trading 5 contracts, it is a big move. And so being able to have a 5-point stop, $500, being able to target for 10 points, $1,000, that to me is a good risk to reward trade. You know, I'm not going to win every trade, but if I can keep those losses small and be very close to the invalidation points where it's a cheap trade, even if I do lose, my winning trades will make up for it, right? That's the whole idea and the whole goal of trading. And so, yeah, I'm up $1,000. Another quick thing to note here is that my trailing drawdown is now higher as well. So it started at 47,500. It is now at 48,485, 465, right? Because I'm up $1,000. You'll notice that my trailing drawdown is the same as my P&L, right? It went 1 and 1 because I closed near the equity high, or in this case, right at the equity high, right? I closed where my balance was the highest. So far I've taken one trade. I just closed it out. Looking at the daily chart here, you can see that we obviously had a really big sell-off and we're pushing back into that 580s level, which I think is pretty important. Not necessarily trying to, you know, fade it right away, but I do want to see how we react up there. You can see my trade here that I took. We're just pushing really strongly right now up into that level, retracing a lot of the big 2% move down that happened yesterday. Buyers looking pretty good. Just overall, just strong and solid. If I can find a dip to buy, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially pushing into 580. If I can't find a dip to buy and we just push straight up into 580, looking to see how we react around there, I think is a really good option as well. So you can see we consolidated the 20s and now we're, you know, maybe making our move up to 580. Right now stopping at 550 psych level. But again, I don't necessarily want to step right in front of 580, but I do think it makes a lot of sense on the daily level and volume happening right here around that level. So we'll be seeing kind of what happens and if there's any opportunity there or not. And this has now been a 120 point move, almost no pullbacks on this move off of VWAP. But again, even with moves like this, it's just gotta reiterate it. It's about being patient, waiting for good setups that you like, that are cheap trades, that have really defined and good risk involved, and executing and then locking in profits. It's just, I can't reiterate it enough. It makes it passing these evaluations so much easier. Also, you didn't know, you can use code TBM for Apex evaluations, and it will always give you the best discount available. It's also 1 day to pass, which is what I'm showcasing right now. You can pass an evaluation in 1 single day. You don't need to trade 7 days or 2 days or split up your profits or anything like that. You can just go make your money, make the profit goal, and then you'll pass and you'll receive your funded account information later that night. So far coming off just shy of that 580 number, rotating mid 70s, which I think is basically, when you're looking at it daily, it's really hard to be pinpoint accurate in my opinion. I think that's good enough. You can see the wicks here touching, and we are making a little bit of a move off of it, which makes sense. I wanted to potentially buy 550. Turns out we just front runned it just a little bit at 551.5. Now this is another good, interesting opportunity, potentially around, you know, 55s, stopping around 50. Basically, if I can get a cheap trade right around here, I'll take that and see if we can get filled. We got, or see if we can get filled on the top side. We got filled up, obviously. There's the 550 trade happening. Looks like I get stopped out here. Stopped out. It ran up about $400, stopped out for 800. So that's about $1,200 of drawdown that just happened. So now my trailing drawdown is at 4,870, 48,775 and 48,55 on a couple of them. And my accounts are break even. So I took about a 10 point, you know, I made 10 points and then I lost 8 points plus commissions. We ended up slapping pretty nicely. I can't even see where I got out of that. It's hard to see, but we ended up slapping some more, another 10 points or so. And you know, it's basically back to break even, but the trailing drawdown is up a little bit now. So that's the kicker here, right? The trailing drawdown stays up at 48,775 instead of 47,500. So my trailing drawdown's up, you know, $1,200, and my P&L is now flat. So that's the kicker. It's an interesting spot where, you know, you could potentially take this wick test. Again, firing off several trades right now. I stand by, I loved this trade. I stand by this one as well. Risk was pretty tight. Currently, we're trading the wicks, kind of retrading the open even. The real question is, are we going to slap off of the 70s or not? Or is this a cheap trade to take at 40, you know, at the prior open of the last 5-minute candle, 43s, right? So we'll see. We got a big block at 550. Kind of see how we react around this area and then go from there. I think if we slap 550, the rotation back to 520s looks pretty solid. We have sellers kind of starting to come around a little bit on these moves. Nothing too crazy yet. Delta's having a little bit of a hard time. It's just not looking super strong like it was on the beginning of the move. Doji on the 5-minute will probably be a net short for me at this area because I care about the daily level. Doji on the 5-minute would also imply the move that might be a little bit exhausted if we can't break that prior high at 73. If we break the prior high at 73, I think that move is done, or obviously the move will continue. My short is invalidated, but I do think something like this is a pretty interesting trade to take. Just not getting filled yet. There we go. I'm filled short. Double top at the highs. See if we can get the continuation on the slap. No luck yet. Just want to see us slap 61, make that rotation back into the 50s. But it looks like I probably get stopped out here. And stopped out. Down 770. Accounts are down $800 right now after commissions. And my trailing drawdown is actually at 48,800 still. And my account balance is at 49,100. So I have about $500 of wiggle room. Coming back inside the range here after testing the 80s. It's another instant short for me. Got in short on the back into the range. We just flipped volume as well. After that trade, my balance is at 50,150. My trailing threshold's at 48,775. It's about those high probability setups. So, you know, quick sweep into the top of the range here, or excuse me, quick sweep into the daily level. Getting back into the range is an immediate short for me for 10 points. That's something that I will take. Obviously, firing off of not too much wiggle room, but I do want to showcase that like if you're down, you're not out, right? So I'm back to break even on these accounts, and this is a lot more trades than you probably are used to seeing from me. And that's just kind of what it is. I'm going to take, you know, more trades in order to get through this thing in one day. So at this point, when we're sitting on volume and we bring volume up here, it kind of shows me two different things. One, if we push out after a volume moves up to the top of the tradable like range like this, if volume moves up near the highs and we do not rotate down and we push out higher, it just shows me that a slow grind is definitely on the table. If volume pushes up like this, a lot of times we do see a rotation though. And so in this case, I would be interested in something like this. That's another tight trade for me into the 78s and then rotating back into volume. I don't know if we get that, Phil, because we do have a doji up here at the highs, and a pullback, you know, after a 150 point move is usually pretty likely. And maybe we end up seeing that pullback right now. But if we do get filled and it pushes 20 points and slaps again, I would love that trade. And then if we continue to push after the point of control, then we know that we're just like straight longs only. And I do want to reiterate that this is obviously like a lot of scalping. And it favors scalping because of the trailing drawdown. The real question is, do we rotate 60s, mid 60s, 65, and then rotate back down? Or do we actually get the push into like 75 with a stop near the highs? I like this push more. And then honestly, like right back down into like this is like a very clean move. I'm going to move it to that. Obviously, like I'm a huge proponent of 10-point trades. That being said, if we trade the top and bottom of the range like this, I think it's going to be a quick move. A little doji, should see a push. Everything in my mind right now as I'm firing trades away is just how cheap of a trade can I get directionally, you know? Take that off so I can see a little bit cleaner. Buyers are kind of trying to step up again. I'm open to this at this point. It's very tight. We've obviously shown that we want to hold this 40s level, and I love trading the range on evaluations like this. Instant stop out for 400 bucks. Trailing drawdown did not move at all. I got $1,000 of wiggle room here. And now we fire off back at 20s if we get there. Wicks get run, right? And it's just a question of when. When I'm trading that type of defined range, it's a 2-point trade, you know, 2 or 3 point trade in order to test out the waters there. Very cheap, worth it to do it, but wicks do get run. So, I mean, the inevitability of that is pretty high to me. Oh, no fill. Missed it by a tick. That's tough. Missed it by a tick. Missed it by a tick, and it runs almost right up to target immediately. Yep, there's full target. So that would have been a 10-point trade just immediately, but just barely missed it. All right, we're coming back into the range here. Potentially trying to, I guess I should say. I'm going to go and take that trade. I like the entry back into the range with the push into point of control even, if not even higher. The thing is, though, is that I got the wiggle room that I need to take into account with the trailing drawdown, right? My accounts are basically flat, but the trailing drawdown is close. So I cannot really let this run up too much without taking profit almost immediately. In order to build that wiggle room back up, right? The reason I have my target up higher is because I think that if we do push point of control, we test the top of the range. So up 700 bucks right now. Again, I got my finger on ready to kill all of these contracts. Finger ready to escape because I don't want the trailing drawdown to catch me too much. Stop is break even. Trying to give it a second to see if it can run a little bit more. You can see the 5-minute chart. We closed nice. I want to see us at least test point of control at 62, if not higher. Obviously higher. Point of control just actually moved down. It's trying. We got that point of control test. And stopped out on all the accounts. I'm basically down $200. My account balance is at 49.78, 780, and my trailing threshold is still, you know, $1,000 away. I still like the longs here, to be honest. It just didn't happen. And again, the trailing threshold there, it's from your P&L equity high. So I was able to run it up $1,000 there, and let it come back down. Should have taken the money. Take the base hits, Matt, right? Take the base hits. Should have taken the money, but I wanted to see us push it a little harder, and I think we do it right now, unfortunately. But I'm not getting penalized because my equity balance high has not been achieved again, right? So because I'm still playing catch up from where I was at originally, my trailing drawdown's not moving up. All right, so we ended up breaking out. I was interested in trading the bottom of the range, but into the 40s, but it never happened. A trade that I really like is initial balance. It's the first hour high and low of the session, and now that it's set, because it's 9:33, it's set 3 minutes ago. A trade that I really like is a test above, to trade above, come back down, retest it, and then get long and go. It's just a nice level of interest. On the short side, if we broke below 425 and a quarter, came back, retested, that would be a short entry and then go. So we'll be seeing if that's going to be in play or not. This has been a nice little, 40-point ripper though. So this candle looks nice. If we can close here and then make the rotation back into 87, I would really like it. Even, above 600, close above 600, make the rotation back into initial balance. I would like it still. Okay. Double bottom held at 88.75. I am long off initial balance. I'm pulling this up again to 20 points just because of the initial balance trade. A lot of times we see the flick and go happen, moving my stop break even, and now it's about management and managing better than the last time. So this is a risk off trade again, just similar to the last one. Want us to continue to go. We flipped it to 10 points pretty well and pretty fast, but looking for more, obviously. This is one of my favorite trade setups to take. Barely swept the prior high into 600. Okay, here's 600 again. See if we can stay above the prior high. Okay, nice. That trade is done. That's 20 points there off of the initial balance trade. You can see, that is one of my favorite setups to take. It just is funny. Trading is always kind of funny. You can trade all this other stuff, end up break even, and then have one solid trade set up. Like a no drawdown, or in this case, I took a tick or two of drawdown for a 20-point winner. One of your favorite setups that you can take. You can trade all day long, and then all it takes is one good one, to really put you in a good spot. So that puts me at 1760 on the session on all of these accounts. There's 1710, I guess, on most of them after slippages. do the trade copier, and the account balance is now at 51,760. So I'm $1,300 away from passing all 20 of these evaluations, 1,300 bucks. And my new trailing drawdown threshold is now at 49,260 or 210, 49,210 on most of these. So now I have, you know, $1,500 of drawdown, which is good, better than 1,000. And we continue to grind. Okay, so off of the initial balance, I obviously got 20 points out of it. Very happy about that. Ended up ripping like 60 points or 70 points, I guess, now out of it, which is crazy. Another crazy thing is that bottom tick, the trade I missed by a tick that ran right up the target, I think was the actual low of the low of this move, 140 points lower. So right now, longs are definitely the best option right now. I taken some shorts earlier today, and at this point, lots of confirmation that long is the way to go. We're above initial balance. We had that point of control flip up, and we pushed out of it, which to me just screams continuation, right? Anytime you build volume and then you push out of volume even higher without rotating, it's usually a very good sign for rotating higher. So at this point, I'm just trying to buy the dip and kind of see what happens. Using the 22 range chart, I mean, you can see right around here is potentially a decent spot. We have a little bit of sellers here, but rotating into yesterday's value area high looks pretty nice. I'd be interested in this trade. I don't know if I'm going to get filled on it. Yeah, it looks like I just missed it. The dips come fast and they don't really stay for very long on these types of environments. But this trade was off of the prior wick high, came back down, traded it, bounced right out of it. But also just the 22 range, looking at the little channel that we've been forming so far. I'll probably be using this channel that we have going for my next entry. At this point in the evaluation, also being $1,300 away, I'm not opposed to you know, like 2, 5, or 6 point trades either. Instead of, you know, looking for a full 10 points, I'm not opposed to looking for a 5 point trade. And then, you know, if I do get 10 points here and I put myself at a spot where I'm like $2,700 instead of the 3,000 that's needed, I will be sizing down from the 5 contracts to like 1 or 2 contracts in order to get that last $200. You know, there's no reason to be right at the finish line, 200 or 300 bucks away, and you're still like going in super heavy on size, and then all of a sudden you're down $1,000 again. Like it's not worth it. So I will be sizing down as we get closer. If we get closer, I will be sizing down and seeing kind of what happens next. Really nice rips all day so far, and another strong close. So now we see, are we going to bounce? Oops. Are we going to bounce prior open, or am I going to get filled? Miss it by a tick. Okay, I'm in. Don't want all of that. I just want 10. Just about like that. Got a little bit of sellers here. And we're testing the +2 standard deviation. On slow grind days, the pullbacks are not very aggressive typically, and they typically happen quick and then snap right back in. So we're going to see if that's going to be the case again on this dip buy. See if we snap back into the range or not. Or back into the highs, I should say. I'm gonna go and move this stop break even. I don't want to lose money on this trade because we did run it up a little bit. So worst case, I'm back to break even. Best case, we push it back up into the top of the range a little bit. I keep saying range. Range is not the right word, but back into the prior highs. And I'm stopped out there. So as of right now, balances are at 51,740 on the account balances here, and my trailing drawdown is just about 50K. So 1,700 bucks of trailing drawdown still available. I still like this trade and this level. I like the little one minute structure that we're kind of forming. You know, you can have a stop at 40 and it'd be pretty clean if you're getting in around 43. Don't know if I get filled here or not. But that to me is a pretty clean looking setup, risking 500 bucks ish to hopefully make 1,000, you know. A little bit of sellers still kind of sitting around here. Not as many buyers as we had prior, which makes sense because we had a really nice move to the upside. All right, I'm long. And I'm going to be stopped out for 500 bucks again. Stopped out for 500. Brings my balances to 1250, 1200. Still sitting just basically about halfway. It's a cheap trade. It's worth taking. I got what, $1,200 of drawdown available. And we're going to see if we rotate 620s or not. Just firing off a lot of trades. It's just scalping for me. I enjoy these ranges and trading the ranges and trading in the trend direction, but we're just kind of rolling over a little bit. But these little micro ranges, I love trading on the 1 minute, especially on these evaluations when I can trade a little bit more size. Okay, so a little slap. We're kind of going back into this bottom of this little chop zone in the 20s. The question is, do we hold this 20s level or do we rotate down into 610 for this little 1 minute untested wick value area high on the session? I like this area a lot. And I think that if we do trade it, we catch a nice little bid that will push us significantly higher. Talking like a 20-point move. We'll see what happens. We might just be holding this kind of level, and I'm not really looking for 20 points here again. If I get the fill here, then it would be a really keeping it tight and close on the trade, because we really might just hold 20s. As the prior open, something like that. Also interesting to me. This just feels like we just straight rip. I'm just trying to get in because of the ripping. It feels like it's just straight longs. Longs are in massive control right now. Trying to figure out how to get in and be able to actually capitalize on some of it. Even like this next candle retested the prior open, 37s. Stop at the lows. Looks like a solid setup to me. All right, I'm in. A little bit of sellers here. All right, candle closed out. Nice little doji. I'm gonna give this just a little bit more room and see if we are gonna actually sweep the lows or just get a nice little push out of it. I like this as the entry. Wish I would have waited for 7 points or so. But this is a good, very cheap trade. If you got in at 30, the invalidation's pretty close. It's a cheap trade in my book, and it's very a good setup after a doji like that. And look, we rip it just right away. I wish I would have waited, but live and learn. Every entry can't be perfect. You just got to adapt and manage it the best way you can. A really nice trade there at 30. I wish I would have taken that. Okay, let's see if we can push the prior high. Popping 45s here looks really good to me. If you can pop, 45, 46 looks really solid. Go ahead and move my stop up break even since we just popped the 46 level. And then we just continue to rotate higher ideally. Into the 50s. I'm gonna go and take that off because there it is, folks. That is me passing 20 of the 50K Apex evaluations, 10 trades, I believe. 10 trades total. Trailing drawdown was not an issue for me. I was like a couple hundred, 700 bucks away from it at one point or something, but you gotta just take the setups that you like taking. And then, you gotta let your trades breathe. And the main important thing is just to take in the money and lock the profits. I took a lot of trades. I normally take, 2 to 3, 4 trades in the morning. I took 10 trades here. I'm normally trading 1 contract. I took 5 contracts per trade in order to make this $3,000 times 20 accounts. You know, that is how, in my opinion, someone who's been funded and withdrawn money should attack these things. You know, follow and rely on your trading strategy and execute it. If you are brand new and you don't have a trading strategy, go find one. Practice in a simulated environment. Do not go and go start an evaluation at any prop firm company if you don't know what you're doing yet. You know, if you are brand new, maybe your evaluation process looks exactly like this one, but with one contract. These are just some of the trade setups that I really enjoy taking. Initial balance high being one of those ones. You know, such a good trade to take. And if managed appropriately, I mean, you probably could have passed off one trade, $3,000 just on this one, with 5 contracts, 30 points. Definitely doable in this move. And I hope that you found this interesting and hopefully helpful, and, you know, taking into account some of my trading strategies on things that I'm looking at, with like going long off of, you know, a doji, that 30 buy being so juicy, cheap trades, taking in base hits. The crazy part is that like most of these trades, like most of this money was made in a couple trades, and then a bunch of break evens and scratches and a couple losers. And then, you know, good things happen if you can manage your trades appropriately. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and good luck passing your evaluations. If you passed at 50K or other ones, let me know. Good luck, be smart, be patient. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.